The giraffe. A unique, beautiful and towering oddity that has defied description throughout history. Once upon a time, it was thought to be a mythical beast like a unicorn. Later, it was described as a cross between a camel and a leopard, and even as a mixture of hyena, one-humped camel and wild cow. But no one believed that it could possibly be a creature in its own right. It's not difficult to see why people got mixed up. The giraffe looks as if it was designed by a committee. The face is reminiscent of a camel's, though the horns aren't quite right, while the hooves are more like a cow's. The neck is a bit like a horse's. The coat varies a lot. It can look like animated crazy paving, as in this reticulated giraffe, or have blotches with a trace of leopard about them. Add these features to the giraffe's world record height, and you get what can only be called the world's tallest animal story. Today we know that the giraffe is a species on its own, and is probably the sole survivor of a race of giants. Millions of years ago, the ancestors of the giraffe had to compete for food against other tall, browsing animals. All the competitors then gradually died out. No one quite knows why, because the giraffe's great height is an advantage in many ways. Giraffe live in the wooded savanna of Africa. In East Africa, there are 3 types of giraffe. The reticulated giraffe has the crazy paving coat and lives in the semi-arid areas of northern Kenya. Rothschild's giraffe has more white separating the patches of colour and up to 5 horns. It lives in Uganda and a few restricted areas in Kenya. The Maasai giraffe lives in Tanzania, Uganda and Kenya and has characteristic irregular leaf-like patches and usually 2 or 3 horns. It's named after the Maasai people, who often share the same kind of country. This tall story is about the Maasai giraffe. Because giraffe are so tall, they have very few competitors for their treetop food. Vervet monkeys sometimes feed on the giraffe's favorite diet of acacia leaves, but compared to a giraffe, vervets have minute appetites. Sharp spines are no defense against a giraffe. Its lips are prehensile, tough and thorn-proof. They catch the branches and pull them into the mouth, which then combs off just the succulent shoots, so that the woody stems and most of the spines are left behind. They can pull down leafy twigs beyond the reach of their lips with their 17-inch long tongue. As a result of regular cropping, the trees tend to get a characteristic giraffe browse line about 18 feet above the ground. The tongue is useful for hooking fruits into the mouth too. The giraffe bends down from its lofty heights to drink and to graze. It's not a position it's happy in for long. That the giraffe can do it at all is a feat which once baffled scientists. To pump enough blood up to its brain, the giraffe has very high blood pressure. When the head is lowered to drink, it suddenly changes from being the highest point of the body to being the lowest, and the blood pressure should theoretically increase so much as to burst the brain. Scientists have now found out why this doesn't happen. The giraffe has a wonderful network of spongy blood vessels near the brain that absorb the initial surge of blood to the head, and a unique system of valves in its arteries that stop the pressure building up. Even so, a giraffe doesn't bend down for long, so that it can keep an eye out for danger. Lions occasionally attack giraffe at waterholes, but it generally looks down its nose at smaller predators, like a cheetah. Even so, it watches the cheetah closely, possibly because they can attack very young giraffe calves. It's a nuisance for the cheetah, because it spoils its chances of hunting. A giraffe standing alert and motionless is an early warning to other animals nearby that a predator is on the prowl. Within seconds, the impala are off. This injured calf might have been attacked by a cheetah or a lion, but it's more likely to have been harmed at birth. Giraffe are not always quite what you'd call model mothers. When a female giraffe is in labour, she searches for a secluded spot, often a thicket of low scrub. In this case, a companion attends the mother-to-be. Considering the young giraffe's first experience of life is being dropped from 6 feet, it displays remarkable powers of recovery. At birth, the giraffe calf is about 160 pounds in weight and up to 6 feet tall. Getting four-legged and mobile isn't always easy. The mother glances anxiously around for predators. The calf is very vulnerable until it stands. It also can't reach to suckle. Within an hour of birth, the calf is on its feet, if somewhat unsteadily. Getting to know each other is important. Giraffe are quite attentive mothers, but a young, inexperienced female is often confused by the new arrival and may kick or trample it by mistake. People once thought that a giraffe's tongue was so rough that a calf hid from its mother for the first 4 days to avoid it. But this is just another giraffe tall story. The mother uses her tongue quite delicately, and it is vital that she and her calf spend the first few days constantly together to establish their relationship. Licking the calf clean as it suckles also helps her to learn the calf's scent. If the calf feels threatened, it takes refuge under its mother's belly. The female can deliver a lethal kick, so if her calf's beneath her, it's well protected. In the late afternoon of its first day, the mother decides it's time to move her calf. It's up to the calf to follow. If it doesn't, she may walk ahead too far, leaving it alone and in danger. After 4 days, the pair are still on their own, and the bond is much stronger between the two. The calf instinctively rests in cover while the mother goes off to feed. The young giraffe's tufty horns now grow upright. At first they lie flat to be out of the way during birth, but they straighten after a few days. The first thing it finds is the most important, acacia. The next is slightly unexpected, and the mother comes to look. The calf is licking a rock, probably for extra minerals to aid its rapid daily growth, which will take it from 6 feet to 10 feet in the first year. After about a week, the mother takes her calf to join the other adults. Now that they've got to know each other well, the calf can roam freely and still be sure of finding her again later on. At the turn of the century, Maasai giraffe were hunted extensively in East Africa and in some places became quite rare. But today they're protected by law and are quite numerous because they have very few competitors for their high-level diet. Elephants are the only serious rivals for the large savanna trees, and in some areas of East Africa they've devastated great areas of woodland. It's where elephants outstrip their own food supply that they rob the giraffe of theirs. The problem is that a hungry elephant's technique for eating acacia isn't quite so delicate as a giraffe's. In parts of the Serengeti in Tanzania, for instance, elephants have bulldozed or ring-barked and killed most of the larger trees that the giraffe once fed on. Fortunately, giraffe are adaptable and have survived on the smaller trees and bushes that the elephant have left behind. The combined effect of elephant and giraffe has been to turn savanna woodland into thick scrub. The smaller trees can't grow any bigger because the giraffe are feeding on them before they get a chance. This can have its advantages, though. Areas with thick scrub make good nursery sites for giraffe with calves. After the initial close contact of mother and calf, the mothers now wander more freely, leaving their calves alone in small groups during the day. While the females go off to feed, often up to a mile away, the calves form into a nursery group. They're not totally forgotten. The adults keep a general lookout, but they're not over-concerned about the fate of their calves. The value of the nursery is that the young don't waste energy trailing around after their parents. At this stage, the calves still rely on their mother's milk. Though they nibble at acacia quite a lot, they can't digest the leaves properly until they're about 4 months old. At noon, the calves doze under the full blaze of the midday sun. Elephant and rhino shade under similar conditions, but the large surface of a giraffe's legs and neck enables it to lose heat more efficiently than other large mammals. Though the scrub hides them a bit, the calves would appear vulnerable to attack by lions. Many are killed, but very seldom in a nursery situation. This is because lions don't hunt when it's hot unless they have to. They're simply too lazy to get into a sweat at midday. During the late afternoon, the calves get restless and hungry. When the females finally return, it takes time for mothers and offspring to reunite. Very occasionally, a female may get two calves by mistake. Giraffe have never been known to bear twins successfully in the wild. One of these calves must be scrounging. Only when she gets the scent does the mother realize what's going on. In the muddle, she rejects her own calf as well. But not for long. By this stage, the mother can probably recognize the pattern of its spots, which are different on every individual. There's only one way a giraffe can scratch its neck, against something or someone else. Though individuals can recognize each other, giraffe don't seem to care who their companions are. Herds come together and split up at random. They like herding together, as several pairs of eyes are better for detecting enemies. When giraffe come across lions, the first thing they do is to keep the predator in full view. Lions don't bother to try hunting something that's watching them, especially when it's the size of the giraffe. A single kick from a giraffe's hoof can very easily maim or kill a lion. So even if lions do approach giraffe, the giraffe aren't too bothered unless they have calves. The lions will almost certainly give up and go in search of easier prey. On the plains, the giraffe's high viewpoint and acute eyesight mean that it can usually spot lions sooner than other animals. This time the lions are hidden in cover and prepare for an ambush. When the giraffes spot the danger, they don't panic. Only if the lions attack in earnest do they break into a dignified gallop. This is slow motion film. Giraffe gallop at an average speed of about 20 miles an hour. With such long legs, you might expect a giraffe to move a lot faster. But its long legs have large muscles, and large muscles contract more slowly than smaller ones. As a result, shorter-legged animals like gazelle and impala, for example, can easily outpace it. The sheer bulk of a giraffe slows it down too. The neck moves backward and forward to counterbalance the body. It swings forward to help the giraffe reach out with its front feet, and then back to help stabilize the body when the legs are all together underneath. The giraffe's neck plays an important part in courtship too. A bull giraffe follows a female head held high to impress her. It's the tallest bulls that are most successful. There's no set mating season. Females come into estrus every 2 weeks. The bull's courtship isn't exactly subtle. He just follows likely females everywhere, testing their scent to see if they're receptive. Giraffe bulls sort out their order of dominance by taking slugs at each other. The opponents line up side by side for the ritual, which is known as necking or bunting. The heavy thumps are audible at several hundred yards, but as in all rituals, the contestants rarely hurt each other. The giraffe's skull is specially constructed with air pockets, which act as a sort of crash helmet to prevent it knocking itself out during the contest. Even so, it must be a fairly mind-shattering experience. Giraffe do occasionally vary their necking technique and go for the opposition's legs. The giraffe on 3 legs is completely stuck until the dominant bull decides to release his hold. Finally, the larger bull feels he's made his point and lets him go. Many of Africa's large mammals, like elephants, rhinos and lions, are being increasingly restricted to national parks, since outside these areas they either damage crops or threaten livestock. Giraffes can wander more freely, since they find crops unpalatable and rarely raid cultivated farmland. And there isn't really any conflict with livestock either. Giraffe are so immensely tall, they can quite happily exist alongside livestock because they feed on different levels. The Maasai giraffe often graze alongside the Maasai people and their cattle. The crucial issue is whether the woodlands stay. As long as too many of these aren't felled for timber, for charcoal, or to make way for agriculture, the giraffe will be there too. And Africa's tallest story will continue to be told for many years to come.